Hey guys, this is Rocking 3 bringing you the live commentary Forza 5. This is going to be King of the Road Challenge. And the person that is challenging me is Scolio Head. On the YouTube side, he is Drew Swartz. And he has challenged me with the C-Class Jeep SRT8 on Sebring Club. So I am going to give that a drive. So I went ahead and took a drive on this on a different track just to kind of get an idea of what it would be like, and it is a monster. And I think he said Sebring Club. Let me double check that. And yes, I did. Not sure how this is going to turn out. Never really raced the trucks or the Jeeps or anything like that. I know just testing it out, it was really heavy. So we're going to give this a couple of warm-up laps. We're going to do the one warm-up lap, and then we'll do 10 full laps. And then I will go and try to tune the very same car for the very same class on the very same track. And this is all-wheel drive, by the way. And then we'll see how it turns out, see how I can do comparatively wise. Just trying this car out, or this, I don't know what they call it, SUV out, it understeered pretty heavily. Now, I don't know if that's just because the vehicle itself is so heavy, and this is only C-Class, so I don't know that we have a ton of upgraded parts on here. I'm sure it's full weight, but I have got to figure out how to make it turn in a little bit harder. I mean, it's a fairly good accelerating vehicle. But I have to make those turns so much earlier. And on the track I was on, I really didn't try any hard braking, so that was new for me. As you can see, I need to get used to this track and this car. I really wish it did dive in a little bit more. Braking seems, well, it's a heavy vehicle. I mean, braking seems pretty good for it. Although I went way past the brake line, so I turned too quick. Wow, 40 miles an hour. Alright, we'll do one full lap here, and then I'll pause it and do the full 10 laps, see what kind of time we can get out of it. See if I can tune it any better. Stella Stig is my rival. I'm just gonna turn early. And I still miss that. I didn't turn out too bad. That was dreadful. Making this look really hard. And it really is for me. I'm definitely used to lighter, smaller cars. Better. Oh, I gotta get that something a little bit better. I cannot afford to go 40 miles an hour on the turn. That was better for 51. Alright, as I finish the starting finish line here, we'll go ahead and give it a pause, and we'll be right back with the 11th lap. Actually, I'm going to finish this turn first. If I pause it right up there, I'm going to mess up the brake line and really mess up that lap. And pause. Alright, we'll see you guys in a minute. Alright, and now we're coming up to the 11th lap. Thought I'd pause it before I got to the finish line. You can see I've been able to beat Stella a few times. Actually, that was my best lap yet, the one we just saw the very end to. I've beaten Stella's time about 3 times. I actually do not know where he was ranked, and I know he doesn't race C-Class a lot, so that may not be as impressive as I thought. But I'm getting used to this truck now, getting my turns down. A lot of them I just have to turn a little bit early, and then here I just have to throttle control a little bit before I get into it. And then I try to get left, and then I try to get right. I'm able to brake, you know, fairly close to how I use a car. Just have to plan it a little bit more ahead. One thing I will say, I've locked up the brakes by about 2 or 3 times in a couple critical spots. So hopefully I can take that out and I put the two together. So I can lock them on. So I can put another good run together. And this one I just try to get to the inside line. Not try to turn too sharp. And we'll just run this one out. Did not improve it. So 114.266. Not too bad. I'm gonna go and let this. No, I'll just go and get back. I'll let you know how it ended up. All right, when I come back, you will see my car. I'm gonna repaint it so you know the difference. See you in a few. All right, and we're back with my Parts and Tunes Jeep. So King of the Road Challenge. I have the Jeep that I need to beat on the screen there. And this is my first warm-up lap. I thought it'd be good to maybe start a warm-up lap so I can start talking during the warm-up lap versus when I'm actually racing so I can get 5 good laps at it. Apologize if I get quiet for some kind of duration here. It's a really challenging car to drive. I think I finally got about where I want it. Did a few different combinations. Some of it was obvious, some of it was not real obvious. The biggest problem that I'm having is keeping the tires from spinning a lot. When I get out of corner and I hit the gas, so I'm trying to do some throttle control with it so I don't spin the tires too much. Alright, so I get 5 full laps to try to beat the time, the 114.266. King of the Road Challenge. So far, been able to pull them all out, but I definitely do not typically drive and tune these type of vehicles, so this is going to be interesting. So a little bit of the differences between the cars, between the Jeeps here, is mine probably oversteers a little bit more, which is good and bad. So it's good that I can turn in a little bit more, but it's bad that when I do turn in a little bit more that the tires kind of spin out. This is a rear-wheel drive Jeep. I actually didn't realize it was a rear-wheel drive Jeep until I looked at some of the parts that was used in the challenge, and I realized, oh hey, it's rear-wheel drive. So this has a lot of power to it and a lot of weight to it. It's all about keeping the power to the ground. I'm going to use that signal over there to see if I can get it to slow down a little bit faster, but if I slow down a little bit too much. So I really haven't drove too many laps on this track with these vehicles. So I'm a little bit still kind of learning some of the ins and outs of what I want to do with the vehicle to get the best time. This spot especially, you know, you have to kind of half throttle it around there just to keep the tires down. Decent turn. I think the differences in the two cars is I think that one's got a little bit more torque, and I think mine has a little bit more horsepower. I think it's just the variation of the parts that we picked for adding horsepower. Otherwise, they're fairly similar in numbers. I imagine the tuning numbers are a little bit different. Like I said, due to the oversteer / understeer between the two vehicles. too many. Oh, I needed a really good turn there and I didn't get it. Got a close one here, but that's probably not good. If I get the gas down first, I should be alright. Hoping the horsepower takes over just enough. I think I got it. Whew, 3 laps. Oh, man, that was difficult. Alright, so let's go right into it. You see I only beat it by 1/10 of a second. So let's go ahead and see what this... I think the other Jeep, and that was Drew Swartz's Jeep, ended up in 692nd place with that 114, so I'm going to probably be, you know, maybe 20, 25 places in front of that. So you're looking at, you know, 650th car here. Challenging the drive, but kind of fun. You can see I haven't drove very much there. I'm level 2 on the Jeeps. I think I did some no grip racing with it. So we are 644. So yeah, that's about where I thought we would be. So we'll continue there, and let's go over to the parts and tune, and I will show you guys how I put the Jeep together. Like I said, it's really close from a parts perspective. I'm sure their tuning's a lot different, but there was a little bit of performance difference between the vehicles. So when I get into this parts and tune, I'll just kind of quickly show you the difference. I'll go into load, setup, and I have it in my tunes. So yeah, mine had 20 more horsepower, but had 12 feet-pounds torque less, and it weighed almost 100 pounds more. So that actually is quite a bit difference in weight. I didn't realize there was such a big difference. So let's go through the parts, and we have the stock engine, and we did the drivetrain swap to the rear-wheel drive, and we have the centrifugal supercharger, and we go over here to the engine now. And I think some of the differences were, I think he had some air filter. Yeah, he had that air filter. I did not. I actually went to, my only upgrade was the sport cams and valves. That did a couple different things. It gave me a good acceleration bump and a good horsepower bump, but it also gave me that extended RPM range, which for me I thought was a good handoff for it. I did try those, but that did not work out very well for me. And then I believe it's also stock, yeah, stock flywheel as well. Alright, let's go through the handling, and we got race brakes, we have the race springs, we have the race front and rear anti-roll bar. I did try this. It actually just put a lot of weight onto the vehicle, and it didn't seem to help too much, so I went with no roll cage, and I went with full weight reduction. And you can see this thing's still pretty heavy, 3936. Be interesting to see why there's 100 pounds difference between the cars. But stock clutch, race transmission, which both cars had race transmissions in them. I had the stock drive line, he had the race drive line, and we both had the race differential. And we did the street tire compound, which I believe were the same on both. And I think this one's a little bit different. I went with the middle upgraded front tire width at 275/40s. I think he had the full upgrade there. And we both had the full upgraded rear tire width here, 315s, 35s. I think we had different wheels. I actually went with a lighter wheel, I believe, or maybe it's the same. Maybe it's the lightest wheel, but maybe just a different version of it. I got the Advan RG2. And I have the stock front rim and the stock rear rim. I think that was a weight reduction play. I have both the Forza front wing and the rear wing. Alright, now for the tune. Tires at 27, both front and back. Gearing was 510. I know that was quite a bit of difference. I never got out of the fifth gear with his Jeep. Mine actually did top out in sixth gear. I backed off the camber a little bit. I probably could try to go back up now that I fixed something else. But I ended up at -1.9 and -1.3, 0.007 for the caster. And this is where I tried to add a little bit of understeer to it. So I had the front roll bars at 19.42 and the rears at 15.91. And then I have a lot of understeer built into this one. So knowing that this one oversteers more than the other one, I can imagine that this number is really, really high for his build, and this low or maybe lower on the anti-roll bars, because this is heavily understeer. 1051.6 on the front springs and 503.4 on the rear. When I lowered this number, it seemed to grip the tires a little bit better. I didn't spin them out nearly as much. Ride height, I dropped it all the way down. I was trying to use this to fix some of the issues that I had. I don't think it actually fixed anything, but I'm at 12.0 and 11.2 on the rebound stiffness, and I thought this would help with traction at 1.2, but it really didn't. So this one, I had it in 5 and 4 at one point, but I ended up going just 1-to-1 and kind of forgot to go back to it. I did the arrow at halfway. I just left it in the middle, 75, 138. Depending on the track, you may want to change that if you want to try out this vehicle. And the braking force, I did lock them up one time, but I did not lock them up very often. 54% in the front and 200% for braking force. It really did help slow down the truck a little bit faster. Acceleration, I put at 5% because I was trying to reduce the wheel spin, and I thought that would help. This really didn't factor into it. I think I was running about 15 to 20. And I went down to 5, and it really didn't help it. The deceleration, I think I have a little bit greater than Drew, because I wanted the engine to help me slow down the truck a little bit. So I put that at 75%. I'll be really interested to see if there's any feedback from Drew on this. I thought his build did really well, and actually it raced pretty quick. I was pretty happy with it. I was able to learn how to drive it after just a couple of laps. Really the biggest difference is this one oversteers a little bit more, and I wasn't locking up the brakes quite as much, so it helped me throw some consistent laps down. And sometimes a little bit more dangerous too because of the oversteer. So I do retain the crown. I am still king of the road, and I look forward to the next challenge. Thanks for watching, guys. Later.